Digital Foundry is proudly sponsored by Omen's new wireless range of mice, keyboards, and headsets.
For EGX this year, I held a panel on Doom Eternal and its upcoming DLC with Marty Stratton and Hugo Martin from id Software. While the talk isn't entirely focused on technology a la your typical Digital Foundry video, we thought it would be fun to share here as well. We talk about the release of the game, the upcoming DLC, a little bit of next generation chat, and more. Now, owing to the remote nature of things, the video quality does suffer a tad, but the information is solid, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this breezy discussion on Doom Eternal. Hello and welcome to EGX 2020 Digital. I'm John Linneman with Digital Foundry, but today I'm here to talk about all things Doom Eternal DLC, all the stuff, and I am joined, of course, very graciously by Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton from id Software. Guys, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Hi.
So yeah, I guess let's start off. Obviously, 2020 has been a crazy year, but we did get Doom Eternal back in the spring. Let's start with how did it go? How did it feel to get the game out the door? Were you guys happy with the reception that you got when it did hit? Let's hear some thoughts about this.
Yeah, it was amazing. We had just gone into work from home about 2 weeks, a week and a half before we launched, and so it was as we're talking right before this, the whole world was kind of going crazy. So it was odd to basically be packing up the entire studio and heading out right as we were heading into what was going to be our launch party and getting our collector's editions and all of that. So it was a little weird, and it was definitely everybody rallied around the launch. We had our services team on deck, and the knock at Bethesda all geared up from their houses, something we had never expected to do. But our IT team did an amazing job getting everybody home with all of their gear, which is an undertaking, again, we had never thought that we would have to do, and it happened in just a matter of a few days. And people really just pulled together and supported it. And then the fan response was phenomenal. I mean, it's always fun to launch a game, but particularly something that we really kind of came into this launch feeling very confident. We'd gotten the little bit of extra time from Bethesda to polish the game as we wanted and fix bugs. So we came into it pretty confident and very proud of the game, and the fans responded as always, like they do, with just humorous enthusiasm. I would call it. They go on and talk about what it feels like to be the Slayer and how badass the game makes them feel and all of that, and of course great reviews. So it was a huge boost for the team, huge boost for morale as we were all kind of settling into work from home, and it's just continued. I mean, it's been fantastic. We love watching videos, we love watching streams, watching Ultra Nightmare runs, hearing people still talk about it. It's been fantastic.
So I guess I'm curious then, did the popularity of the Marauder take you guys by surprise? Was that something you were hoping would catch on, or was it sort of an experiment? Okay, we're going to try this new type of enemy in here and see how it takes off.
We were hoping that we'd get the response we wanted. We anticipated frustration for sure from some players. We as a studio, we feel that frustration is a part of engagement. Nothing that is engaging is necessarily going to come easy to the player. If you think about most things, just in sports, life, video games, the challenge that is the most rewarding, the power fantasy that is the most rewarding, is the one that is earned, not just handed to you. So you definitely are presented with a unique combat puzzle, and then you have to kind of master it, and then eventually the Marauder becomes easy, which is what we knew would happen. That's what happened internally. So much so that some players thought it was an exploit. It was like, no, he's designed to encourage you to switch your weapons, to DPS combo him to take advantage of that falter window. So overall, it's been fantastic. I told the programmers several times that this would be their Michelangelo. I think the stuff that's going on, I'm sorry, their Michelangelo's David. The stuff that's going on under the hood to get him to do what he's doing, to respond the way he does, is really, really. It's some sophisticated stuff. And Jake, our principal programmer of AI, he could really go into detail, I'm sure, about all the amazing things that are happening there to get him to behave that way. I think that it's accurate to say too that initially people assume, while they're trying to learn him and going through that whole early part of the experience with the Marauder, you think that he's breaking the game, but he's really not. He's actually taking everything in the game that the game has asked you to do up to that point, and he's making you do it super fast. Like prioritizing enemy targets. You want to get rid of everybody so you could fight him in peace. And that basically says, hey, all that kill and arena stuff that you've been doing the whole game? Well, now you got to do that really fast, because he's basically on your ass. And if you don't do it really fast, he's there, it's going to be a problem. So you have to kind of like do everything you did before, but do it super fast. He relies mostly on the ability to aim and shoot with precision, which is a skill that you're going to need in the final parts of the Doom game. And I just like to think that once you've mastered the Marauder and you could beat him relatively easily, then you're really the Doomslayer. I mean, you've conquered the experience for sure, and there's really nothing left in the game that you can't just smash.
That's really interesting. I'm really happy to hear your response to the internet's response to it, because when something like this hits, you often get this feeling where you have some fans that love it, but then you have other fans that hate it, and they kind of go back and forth. And I'm thinking from your perspective as a designer, you have to kind of pick and choose, I guess, where to stick to your guns and be like, no, this is the way he's supposed to be. This is what we want it to do. And it sounds like you guys are really happy with the results, and I am too, honestly. I think the Marauder is pretty awesome. So
people who get frustrated, you have that in everything, like if 10 out of 10 people aren't going to feel the same way about anything,
Oh, yeah.
So I think for us, it's not something that we let stop us just because a few people had some issues with something. Because again, if you take anything in any game and ask 10 people what they think, they're not all going to have the same opinion, about part games or about games, as a whole. So Doom is a game that, is meant for everyone. We have difficulty settings there for a reason, to try to reach a nice broad audience. We want that power fantasy. We want everybody to be able to earn their black belt, as we say. But, along the way, sure, you're just going to have some people who find certain things more challenging than others. But frustration is a part of engagement. Like video games
exactly.
should not become an exercise of I was frustrated once, like it's not a good game. Like there's no, listen, last night I can't tell you how many times playing Warzone that I've nearly broken my controller, but that's a good game, and the frustration in the moment, I am frustrated. But if it's fair, as I think the Doom is, the occasional bug aside that is not fair, those we continue to polish out of the entirety of the experience. But when it's fair and I feel like I know what I did wrong, then I scream and yell, and then I pick up the controller and I'm ready to try again. If it's the game that screwed me over, then I'm not sure I want to keep playing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. All right. So obviously we'll be seeing some more Marauder soon, no doubt, because you guys have the ancient gods on the way. Yeah, see, that's what I want to get to next. So first of all, how long have you guys actually been working on it? And at what point in the project did you say, okay, we're going to make this standalone? Because for me, I think that's really great. And it's almost like an old throwback in some ways to some of the old expansion packs. So I guess even more forward looking, because like you say, really being standalone means no Doom Eternal requirement. Like, what led to this?
I mean, we were experimenting with the idea of standalone a while back. There actually has to be some kind of technical things put in place very, very early on that allow for it and make it feasible. So we kind of put that stuff in place actually a couple of years ago, and set ourselves up to be able to do it. we've talked all throughout development about how we approach the DLC and what we want to do. We made the call on what we were going to do for this DLC. I would say midpoint last year.
Okay.
About I'm kind of winging that. I think that's about when it was, and we had made the decision already to kind of have it be standalone, so it fit. I think it's, it is important to note that the Ancient Gods part 1 and 2, it's kind of built as a 2-part thing. It is built for people who have basically gotten their black belt, as Hugo says. It's meant to challenge people who are familiar with the experience. You start as the fully loaded Slayer. You have all of the weapons, all of the mods, everything's mastered, all of the runes. So you are this ultra powerful thing right out of the gate. And if you're familiar with shooters, I think it'll be fun actually to come in, jump in, and if you want to kind of get into Doom Eternal at a lower price point, you can grab that DLC and have the fully mastered Slayer experience, kind of like turning on all the cheat codes when you're playing the original games, and have a really interesting, fun, engaging experience. I would hope that most of those people then go back and want to get the full campaign and kind of progress through it that way too. But I think it's interesting. It's kind of I wouldn't call it an experiment, but I think again, it's built for people who have played Doom Eternal, and we expect most of our players to have played Doom Eternal. But it gives people who have some shooter experience that want to jump in, gives them that opportunity. It also comes with battle mode, which is cool. I think that's
oh yeah, right.
So you get the DLC and you get battle mode, and we're really proud of kind of the progress we've made on battle mode. Lots of great stuff has been improved within the game. So it's a great time getting the DLC to jump into battle mode. And it's a very similar experience because in battle mode, you are the fully loaded Slayer as well. So there's some synergies there that I think are cool. As far as how long we've been working on this, we started a bit last year, but mostly I would say the bulk of development has been done this year. It's built as it's very ambitious. I think our team, we kind of had set out on what we wanted to do, and then we went to work from home, and obviously that just kind of turns over everybody's tables, and we have a totally different level of efficiency and how how fast things transfer over the networks and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely challenged the team to stay on track with it, but they've done an amazing job. And as you'll see, as people have seen in the trailer, the scope of it is pretty awesome. I mean, we're doing some things. I just got to hand it to Tony, our art team, our Lear, the level designers, Jerry and his team. The scope of what they've done for a DLC is really impressive. It pushes the boundaries of even things we did in Doom Eternal from a visual and world building perspective. So it'll take people on a pretty awesome adventure.
It looks like it's all mostly, if not all, new environments as well. So you built all new art in addition to all these new levels.
Yes. It's this, as Marty said, the scope of what we've been able to accomplish here is really going to blow people away. I think it in some cases it rivals and even surpasses some of what's in Eternal. The team overall, all of us together, I think again we just keep getting better at making Doom games. So and I don't think we've made our best Doom game yet.
Wow.
You'll see it in the DLC. There's just some moments, some sequences, some of the locations, some of the things we're going to ask you to do. It's really cool. We were able to push things in some ways that I think are really pretty exciting.
That's cool. So I'm actually thinking then, so you're designing this for people that have played Doom Eternal, but anybody can jump in. So I'm curious, like, how does it differ for you guys in terms of actually building levels that don't take that player progression into account? I mean, you're starting with all the weapons, you're supposed to be experienced, so there's not that ramp up of like teaching players new things. Like, how has that changed your approach to making these levels?
they gotta be harder, to be honest. It is the difficulty settings allow you to make it for everyone. That's the big difference with our game. I mean, like,
Oh yeah.
I'll hear people throw out that it's like, oh, it's turning into like a super hard game. Like, we have difficulty settings. You know, we've got Sentinel armor for boss fights. We've got, you could put it on easy, like, and we've tuned it specifically so no matter what difficulty you play it on, the experience is still the same. You still got to shoot weak points. You still got to chainsaw. You still got to prioritize targets. The fun zone, as we call it, really doesn't change. The speed at which you have to make decisions and the number of mistakes you're allowed to make, all of those things increase on easy. So I'm sorry, it slows down on easy, and you're allowed to make more mistakes on easy. So it's definitely at an overall pace that I think is reasonable for players who need that type of difficulty setting. But I think it allows us to say, you have your black belt. This is a fully kitted Slayer. You know, the F-22 has all the missiles and all the guns. And so we have to throw enough at you to be able to account for that and push you, you know, like, test your mastery of those tools in new ways, you know, really put you as a combat puzzle, as we say, give you new combat puzzles to solve. The game is really not fun when you're not being pushed. That's really it. It rides that razor's edge. It's kind of like, do I want to climb a mountain that no one's ever made it to the top? No. Do I want to climb like Mount Everest, where you know, the you know, skilled, only the strongest can survive? Absolutely, that's what I want. You know, I don't want to take on like a mediocre challenge. You know, that Doom is a skill-based game. The difficulty settings allow us to reach people of a variety of skills, but it is still a skill-based game. You know, we don't rely on loot. We're not a looter shooter, so it is not. You know, it's not an RPG. It's not a looter shooter. It's
Thank
not an
goodness
open
for
world
that.
game. Yeah. Well, I love those. I love those games. You know, I just think different set of requirements, you know, different
Oh yeah.
expectations, different development teams, different studios. So where id Software is built to make a skill-based shooter, you know, and so knowing that you're going to begin the DLC with all of the tools, which means you're insanely strong. We had to tune the difficulty and the challenge in the DLC accordingly.
So tell
It's
me if
actually
I'm off-
something.
Go
It's
ahead.
funny, just real quick, because Hugo says, you know, you're insanely strong. It's actually something you kind of need to remind yourself when you start playing it. I think I've had this experience playing through it where I've tried to play it like early levels of Doom Eternal, and I'm not as successful. I have more trouble than if I just basically tell myself, you have everything. It's like playing the last levels of the game, where you are just, you know, you're switching fast. You realize that your cooldowns are really low. Like, you know, you have double grenades, you know, that you can launch. Like, you need to remind yourself, like, I can't. I am a beast right now. And then as soon as you kind of embrace that, you actually are much more. I've been much more successful. But when you're kind of like picking and popping, it makes it more challenging for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. One thing I've thought about, and I'm curious to hear how you feel about this, but after playing through a Doom Eternal, I kind of felt like this is a game that captures the entire history of id Software, where you have a
Yeah.
little bit of everything. It's got when you're playing single player, it has the intensity of like a deathmatch game, like, you know, playing Quake 3 Arena, but it's still got that complex level design of the original Quake and Doom. It's still got all the single player elements, and you're just like combining. It's even got some of the horror kind of dark tones and spots. Like, it just feels like everything came together to create this one thing. It's like id Software the game. And that's
It is. I think it's a celebration of id Software as much as it is a celebration of the Doom brand, for sure. I mean, it's if you're a fan of Doom, you're a fan of id, you know, and
Yeah.
I know for all of us, we came to id to make Doom games, but really to just make id games. You know, like most people who are a fan of, most people who work at id, the younger generation, you know, people who weren't there from the beginning, like a Kevin Cloud or something, we're just fans of id games, you know, so we want to make those kinds of games. So I think it's accurate to say that it is a celebration of not just Doom, but you bring up the point that it is an arena shooter. I mean, it is an arena shooter with but PvE, and a segment of our audience is actually multiplayer only players. Like, if you looked at the pie chart of the kind of players that we attract id fans, we attract FPS fans, but there's also this new growing segment in our Doom games of people who might only play fast-paced shooters like Call of Duty, who find this game and say, holy cow, like I get the same buzz from conquering an arena in Final Sin and Doom Eternal on Ultraviolence that I do playing Warzone or some other skill-based multiplayer shooter, first-person shooter. So we're really proud of that audience too. I mean, because look, they're looking for something that's fast-paced, competitive, and really test their skills. And Doom has that for them. I think one of the, to see Shroud, who we don't talk to Shroud. There's no sort of connection that we have with him. We're fans of him like anyone else. But to see him organically pick up Doom, the last 2 Doom games, and play it, and watch his audience ask him to play it on Nightmare to see how good he is, and to see him play it. And I mean, he's good at everything he plays. But that stuff is, we're really proud of that. So yeah, it kind of combines multiplayer, the history of it, the Doom brand all together to make what we feel like in the marketplace is a really unique experience, because not many people are making the type of game we make right now.
No, it's true.
Which we're really proud of.
Yeah, for sure. So I am curious though, one of the biggest changes, I guess, with Doom Eternal compared to even 2016 and anything prior was there was a little bit more focus on story, a lot of like storytelling sequences. Should we expect to see something like that again in the Ancient Gods? Are you changing the approach there? Is this a continuation of Doom Eternal?
It is. It's basically in a 2-part DLCs, part 1 and 2. It'll be the conclusion of the arc of the story that started in Doom 2016. So kind of like our Return of the Jedi. There are more stories to tell inside of this Doom universe, but for now, this is going to be the conclusion of that arc, that story arc that began with Samuel Hayden and stuff, and the Doomslayer being found in that sarcophagus. The DLC will continue the story from Doom Eternal, and look, ultimately, we want to take you to incredible places, shoot really awesome guns against super badass bad guys and meet really interesting characters and do cool things. The Doom universe and fleshing that out allows us the opportunity to do that. We don't want to give you it's not a corridor shooter. We don't want to stay on Mars or stay in hell and just go to these boring locations. We really want to go to fantastic locations and explore different, as we push out into the far reaches of the Doom universe, you're going to see some really, really cool things. I mean, we were able to take you to heaven, but it's our interpretation of heaven, as a player, for me to go to Urdak and that to be like some modern interpretation of heaven, I think is really cool as a player, and the characters I get to meet. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing lots and lots more of that. And I think you saw that in the trailer.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I got to ask though, there's references to the old Doom comic in Doom Eternal. Who did that? I gotta know.
Who drew the comic?
Yeah, to bring the comic into Doom Eternal like that, because there's direct references to it. I thought that was great.
It's just part of the Doom brand. I mean, Doom 26. when we rebooted Doom, it's accurate to say that we took all of the Doom brand, not just there's very much like there's what people there's like what an actual movie or game was, and then if it becomes a cult classic, it's kind of also what it becomes.
Right.
Like what the Thing was when John Carpenter released it in the 80s and what it is now. If you were to remake the Thing, you'd have to take into account how people feel about the Thing, like the all of the sort of what's happened around it, as it's become this cult classic. So Doom is very much like that, and the comic is as much part of the brand. The famous line, that famous page that everybody shares, guts, you must have huge guts, like that's, so that's a good example of like, we didn't just want to make a remake of Doom 1993. We wanted to really make a reboot of the Doom brand as a whole, how people felt about it. I often laugh because people associate metal music with Doom, but like, yes, Doom 3 had a lot of metal music in it, but the original Doom had like jazz. It had like, when you think about some of some of the music in the original Doom game, I mean, it wasn't Metallica speed metal,
Oh,
but
no, not at all.
but people associate that with Doom. I mean, Doom very much became about this, you know, the metal horns, and we love that. That's how we think of Doom. So roping those things in, that's just a good example of how like what the game is and what it became, a little bit different. And we really wanted to capture the spirit of Doom.
So actually thinking of music, that's one of the most interesting things. For the DLC, you've brought in perhaps my single favorite modern day shooter composer, Andrew Hulshut, along with David Levy. And that's very exciting. But I got to know, like, how did this come about? Like, when did you guys reach out to them? What led you to, what led you to his door?
I mean, he was at our door.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
We've known him. We've actually known Andrew a long time. He's here in Dallas.
Oh,
So,
okay, great.
So we know him from game dev drink ups. He's always at QuakeCon. We've been a fan of the stuff he's worked on. You know, I mean, he's very prolific on the internet. The Dusk stuff is amazing. So, I mean, like literally, it's been years that he's. I think I have probably 3 of his demo CDs that he's handed over the years. And again, many conversations at you know, at our favorite bars in Old Plano and stuff like that. So he's been around a long time, and you know, his passion for the brand and for just for the style of music is been, you know, top of mind for a long time. So when we basically kind of sent out Chad, who's our audio lead, started sending out some requests, and he was right at the top of the list. We've seen people have been talking about him on Reddit and YouTube for a long time, so we know the fans have liked his music as well. And so we started gathering. Chad started gathering some demos from a number of people. Andrew's stuff obviously stood out right from the beginning. He had done some stuff specifically to try to get the job on this. And same with David. You know, just had done some great work in the past that we were all fans of, and again produced a really great demo. I think one of the really cool things that helped was the direction that Chad had provided, and all of us had talked about, Hugo had pushed, is not trying to just copy Doom music, not trying to copy, you know, the sound of Mick Gordon.
Right.
It's very unique. I mean, he's obviously a massive talent unto himself, and has, you know, an incredible sound. But you know, we wanted what these guys could bring to Doom themselves, and obviously everything in the past, whether it's the original Doom music or what we've had in 2016 in Doom Eternal, is a massive influence on that. I really think it gave them the opportunity to apply their own, you know, their own sensibilities and their own soul into what they did, and it's fantastic. I mean, just couldn't be happier with what they both produced. I think people are really going to dig it. Playing in the Equestrian Halt level, the Maker City, kind of destroyed Maker City, it's incredible. I mean, I was playing through the earlier levels last night, and it's great. I mean, it's really, I couldn't be happier with what they've produced. It's been awesome.
Which is really interesting. I think this is cool because it's also going to give the whole DLC pack kind of its own unique vibe, which is something we don't often see in this sort of thing. So I'm really excited to hear how that turns out. But
I think it works well because of what Hugo was talking about. You know, Doom is, people think it's just metal, and trust me, I mean, you know Andrew's music well enough to know that he can do that. But you know, I mean, like what's great is that it really does hold up. Like visually, it holds up to quite a bit of musical diversity, whether it's synths or something more alternative or something heavier. It really, I think the way that our Hugo and our art team have pushed the visuals of the game to, like, truly, like, again, I said it in Doom Eternal when we were when we were out talking about Doom Eternal, you're going to see things that you've never seen before in a Doom game. Like it's going to happen again with the DLC. There's stuff. I mean, like right off the bat, the first level, the massive turbulent ocean you're in the middle of on the rig, the hell swamps in the second level, and then the halt in the last level. The forest you start in is truly like nothing you've seen visually in a Doom game, and the music has to adapt to support that as well. It has to be something you haven't heard. It has to match, and I think these guys really did a great job of finding that synergy, and I think it works really, really well.
That's cool. So yeah, obviously thinking of you mentioned like the first area there, the DLC with the ocean and the rain. So that's obviously id Tech 7 getting the job done with those new systems. I do kind of want to talk a little bit of tech. I'm curious now. We're getting closer to the launch of we're getting closer to the launch of the next generation consoles. If you guys come up with anything like, maybe 120 hertz support, ray tracing, anything like that we might see on those new consoles, or is that still kind of in flux?
It's not in flux. It's just stuff that we haven't talked about yet. So, us. We love technology. Our team just wants to be. We want to be the best at everything, whether that's game design or visual design or technology design. So they are on top of all of those things, and we're excited, very excited about the next gen hardware. We were obviously a big part of the of Nvidia's 3080 launch. I mean, we released some amazing gameplay, and the game just screams on that hardware. So Billy talked about kind of what that hardware allows us to do. So it kind of doesn't matter what side of the hardware we're coming from, whether it's next gen consoles or the Switch or the highest end PC stuff. We really want to be the best on it, and so without saying too much, I think you can look forward to us really trying to push on the next gen as well, and we'll have a moment to talk about all that stuff in the not too distant future.
And I think you guys had said earlier that for owners of Doom Eternal, this upgrade for next gen stuff is included with that. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
That's really cool. Yeah. Actually,
yeah,
though,
I got to hand it to Sony and Microsoft. They're doing a good job of supporting that as well. So I think that gamers benefit, and putting that choice in our hands. Obviously, we're gonna, we want gamers to feel comfortable about buying the game right now, knowing that if they're gonna buy the hardware in the future, they'll get the upgrade.
Now, I'm sure you can't say too much about these plans, but it would be cool to see. Is there any chance of seeing like a retail release of Doom Eternal with all the DLC, all the enhancements, like just a final version? You know what I mean? Like a complete package.
I think there's always a chance of something like that. That's tends to be. That's kind of a conversation we have with our sales team at Bethesda, and they always have a really good sense of how something like that would do and whether it's worth it. But I love that kind of stuff. I love of the complete editions, maybe some kind of cool new tchotchke with it or something like that. Those are always fun.
Yeah, definitely. That would be great. Also, I guess I do have to ask again, since do you have anything more to say about the Nintendo Switch version? Is that coming along okay? Any ideas when we might hear more news on that?
Yeah, I wish I could say. I wish I could give you like specific, because I know it's. I read all the comments. When we say anything about Doom Eternal, like there's always the 1 out of every 5 comments is how about you tell us about the Switch? So I know people are anxious. We just kind of don't want to. We're trying to make it the best, the best version of the game it possibly can be. We've been working with Panic Button. They're also like everybody in work from home, so
Oh, right, of
it's
course.
taken a little bit longer to get there. But you know, we just don't. We want it to be everything it possibly can be. It's very close, and we're kind of, you know, we're trying to be very uncompromising with what it needs to be, because we know there's a high demand for it. So we will be talking about it again in the not too distant future. It is close, but I can't say exactly how close.
That's very cool then. So you guys obviously, you mentioned the new Nvidia cards, which are looking pretty great. What did you think of the whole 1000 FPS test I saw recently? That's just kind of insane.
It is. I like, when I watched that video, I thought I'm no chemist, but I felt like he should be wearing gloves or something when he's working with all of that liquid nitrogen. That scared me a little bit, but I pictured him kind of spilling it on his hand and his fingers falling
Yeah,
off or something.
exactly.
But I think that's awesome. I mean, it's like the most impractical thing ever, but like, it's amazing that people want to do it and want to push it, and I think it's amazing that the tech can do it. Like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
that's
It Tech 7 being able to even do that, like a modern engine running at 1,000 frames per second. I mean, I think people watching may not realize just how big of an accomplishment that is. Like the sheer optimization that has to happen, even with super powerful hardware. That's incredible. So
it really is. And I mean, it's just, it's funny. We you know, when we're hiring people and we're going through the interview process, they ask often, like, what do you like about working at id Software? What's the best part of working at id Software? And inevitably, like, across the team, no matter who you ask, they'll say it's the people and the talent and the drive and the craftsmanship, is something that Hugo hits on a lot.
mhm.
And that's it. I mean, it's just like the team. It's not about just doing what we have to. It's about really trying to do the absolute very best, and it's not even something you have to ask people to do. That's not like, that never comes up. I never have to be like, come on, can you just, you know, can you just try to do the best? It's like, it's what people do. I mean, you know, Hugo driving the creative and what they try to do and accomplish in a DLC, and then, you know, what our tech team tries to do with the engine to make it capable of running at 1,000 frames per second. Again, when there's no, we don't get any money for that. There's nothing other than just pure love and joy for the craft going into doing that. So it's all the people, man. It's just that they're just amazing. I mean,
That's awesome.
it's the id way, I think. I don't know.
Speaking of sort of a tangential thing, I see that the Doom Classic release just got an update this week. uh I'm really happy to see that you guys are, you know, the teams are still working on this. I mean, it launched last year and I was not super kind to the initial release for various reasons, but I think it's quite a success story and that it's been completely turned around. Like how involved are you guys with are you guys with that Doom Classic stuff, and how are you feeling about the state of it?
It's awesome. I'm actually glad you recognize it and brought it up, because yeah, it's a small group internally, but you know, interestingly enough, it's Kevin Cloud, who's
Wow.
like been, you know, long time. He drives that work and works with those mod authors, along with Mike Rubitz, another team member. And yeah, it's been incredibly successful. I mean, like, just, you know, for a game, obviously it's Doom, so it's popular, but so many people have it. But I think, again, it's just, you know, there's a love for it, and a lot of just a lot of great gameplay that's been out there a long time. And I think the fact that they've you know, they've been working with just some fantastic mod teams that are still doing amazing work, have done amazing work, and are still invested in it. it just speaks volumes about the brand, the people, the community, and it's been really, really fun to be able to kind of come back and support that and bring things that normally were just accessible to people who wanted to go out and find the mods, to bring it to, you know, you buy Doom now on the current gen consoles or your Switch, and you can get these mods that are really, really cool.
Yeah, they're excellent.
So yeah, kudos to Kevin and Mike for all of that, and you know, again, it's really been doing pretty well, and Doom 64 did fantastic.
Oh yeah,
as well.
I talked with those guys as
So-
well in a video, and yeah, like that work was exceptional as well. They really went the extra mile to ensure that it was accurate right down to the way they filtered the textures. It's like a perfect replica of Doom 64. So I think
Yeah,
those fans really appreciate that. So that's great. I
yeah,
think
absolutely, it's fun to see.
yeah, I mean, it's real. I really have to stress this. Like, it's, I don't want to say it's unprecedented, but it's not that common to see something what happened with Doom Classic, where something's put out, it has obvious issues, and then over the course of the year, not only are all of those problems solved, but like tons of stuff is added to it. So that's really a rare thing in this industry these days to see that, especially for a non-online kind of game like that. So that's very commendable. So I respect that a lot.
Cool. We appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Cool. Well, I should probably ask Hugo a little bit more about some of the ancient god stuff since he's on that side. First of all, are there any new mechanics in there? I heard something about something called the Spirit. What's up with that? How does that work?
It is a an AI that possesses. It's the summoner from Doom 2016, but with a twist. It will go and jump inside of another AI and possess them. And when an AI is possessed, they're harder to kill. Their weak point break off, and they take more damage, and they don't falter, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually makes the AI really tough because they could shoot you. When an AI falters, they're no longer able to respond because they're stuck in an animation where they're flailing. It's in the game to give the weapons more impact, but also to balance the game. Like if I shoot someone with a ballista, he has a big falter, he's no longer a threat to me, then I could follow up with another shot. And it's why DPS combos are so effective. When you take away the AI's ability to falter, that means they'll eat a ballista shot and they'll just keep shooting at you, which is cool because that enables us to, in a clever way, make them more threatening. So we also kind of lowered the damage of certain weapons that we know players kind of rely on. So like chain gun, certain things won't be quite as effective against these guys. So it really pushes you into using different weapons and tools to kill them. And then once you have killed the possessed AI, the spirit pops out of him. And the only way to kill the spirit, the spirit is then vulnerable for a few seconds before she picks another target. And in that time, that's where you have to take advantage of it, and you kill them with the plasma beam, you know, the microwave beam on the mod for the plasma rifle,
Okay.
that Ghostbusters beam that shoots out. So
Yeah.
when you use that, you're held in place and you're vulnerable to other AI. So there's this really interesting dynamic that happens that, like, so I need plasma. The plasma shares resources with the ballista. So the ballista super shotgun combo that we know everybody likes to use, that's now going to be kind of taken out of the equation, because if I ballista super shotgun this character to kill them, then when it comes time to fry them with the plasma beam, with the microwave beam, I won't have enough ammo. So you're going to want to, yeah, it's a really interesting resource, you know, management tweak where, like, shit, I can't use the ballista, so I got to use something else. And then I also have to kind of like take care of certain AI, or make sure that I do this in a certain place that I don't get killed while I'm trying to zap the spirit once it comes out. So it in a really subtle way, it kind of changes the dynamic of the combat quite a bit. And then
Actually,
yeah.
how does the spirit determine which creature to go after next? So you knock it out of one enemy by killing it, and then it's free. How does it determine where it goes next?
It prioritizes heavies, so it can go into fodder, and it won't go into an empowered demon. So if you have empowered demons on it, it won't possess one, but it mostly will prioritize heavies always. And then if you haven't done that, it'll go into like an imp or a fodder class.
Oh man, a spirit possessed mancubus sounds terrifying to me.
It is when he put, yeah, it's and if you don't kill it, then and you kill the possessed demon, but you for whatever reason weren't able to kill the spirit, then it's going to go into the next heavy. And throughout the course of an encounter, we know that they escalate. So a marauder might come in at the end of the encounter, or
Oh
just a
no.
number of really nasty things. So you're highly motivated to want to kill this thing soon, because if you
Right,
don't,
right.
then it's going to go into other things that are even worse.
Like the Marauder.
Or you keep it alive because you don't want to take the chance of not being able to kill the spirit. So then you just kind of avoid this particular AI while you take
Oh
care of
yeah.
everything else. So in so many subtle ways, it influences the encounter.
That's cool. That's and that's something that will appear on all difficulty modes.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, it shows up in one of the levels, and then it'll be throughout. And then we'll have it there to use for like master levels in the future.
Cool, cool. All right. So how many Marauders can we expect to see at once? Are you cranking it up 3, 4? Like what are we
we
talking here?
we max out in one encounter with 5 at a time. No, I'm just kidding. The no, it's never more than 2, and we don't do that too many times. That is definitely like the ultimate test,
Right, right.
Um, I would tell you that a buffed Marauder is actually, I think, worse than 2 Marauders. Personally,
I can
there is
imagine.
there's an encounter where we purposely make you fight a buffed Marauder, and you
Oh
have to
boy.
defeat him until you get rid of in order to pass through. So, yeah, you'll at best you fight 2, and then there's a few peppered in there throughout the experience. 2 is quite the challenge, because they summon really. It's not so much 2 Marauders that's tough. It's 2 wolves at a time that is tough. Like once they both summon their wolves.
Oh yeah.
Then dealing with 2 of those things is a giant pain in the ass. So we definitely had to balance around that encounter too, because I said this in an interview that like you don't want to have too many fodder that are really challenging during that encounter. 2 Marauders by themselves is really good.
Yeah.
We had one time where we had like some gargoyles or like a bunch of like more challenging AI in there with them, and that's way too much. Like,
I agree. Yeah.
so it again, it's fair but challenging. That's the goal, like. So I know what I need to do, and it seems achievable. It's just a challenge. When you do more than 2 Marauders and a bunch of Hell Knights, that's when you're kind of throw up your hands, push the keyboard away, and say, I can't do this. So we think it's really engaging. That's all we really care about, is that it's engaging and really pushes the player to master the experience.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I guess I'm also just kind of amazed. Again, you were saying you guys kind of started this late last year and have been mostly working on it this year, and it's almost complete. How the heck are you making these levels so quickly? I mean, is this just the result of the evolution of the id tech tools? I mean, is it just making your artists more efficient? Or are you guys just that good, or is it a combination of both?
I think we're getting. I wouldn't say we're that good
Getting better.
at everything. We're getting that good at making Doom games. Like I
Ah,
think we're the world's leading expert on making Doom levels.
well,
Thank
yeah.
God.
So that's it. Like and we are getting better at it. Also, I mean, look, we're it's a DLC, so it's an extension. All the hard lessons learned on Eternal. I mean, that's really where the development time comes in, is like finding the fun zone, as I've described it many times, refining what that experience is, what the rule set is, how we keep you in the fun zone, all of those things, the balance. That's what the years of development are spent on Eternal. With the DLC, I tell the guys, it's like we get to create with all the crayons in the box, all of these tools that we made, and we get to add a few new ones in DLC to craft these experiences. But the lessons that we learned on Eternal, we lean on in DLC. So, but I have to say, we do add quite a few new things. I think the way that we combine these things together, and with some new things that we've thrown in, it definitely makes for a challenging new experience.
That's really cool. Have you guys looked into this might just be beyond the scope of the studio at this point, but the engine is so powerful. Have you looked into maybe licensing it out to other developers in the future, or is that something you're just like, no, we're not interested?
Yeah, we typically it's kind of that's really more of a Bethesda thing, but it's not been something that yeah we have been particularly interested in. You know, we share it internally. There's been several games within the ZeniMax family of studios that have used it. Obviously, Machine Games uses it
Oh yeah, of course, it's true.
extensively. So so we kind of have our own little internal licensing of the tech, and so we're happy with that. We feel like it's a good competitive advantage, and no reason not to maintain that.
Cool. Well, we're coming up on an hour here, so I want to let you guys get in anything else that you want to say about the upcoming DLC, Doom Eternal, whatever comes to mind.
I wasn't able to do this interview in my office. So normally there's this big rack of books behind me and I look all creative and smart. And I got kicked out of all of my rooms because development during COVID and interviews during COVID in particular. You know what? Doing interviews is more challenging than developing the game. That's actually because
Wow.
it's kind of like my house is a level, and each of my kids. I have 2 dogs now, 1 cat, and 3 little kids. So they're kind of like my house is a level, and these kids are like, they're the
The environment
hazards.
hazards.
They're the environment
Yeah.
hazards, and so like they're the sounds they make. They travel a certain radius, so I have to pick a spot in the house that, when the eventual fight breaks out in the middle of an interview, which it always does, I'm like, in the right spot. So that has me today in a guest bedroom in the
All
corner of my
right.
house. But that's honestly the thing. In a way, I say that because I think COVID has made the development challenging, but in a lot of ways brought us all closer together. We're communicating a lot more together, and honestly, also with the fans. Like we're leaning on the fans. There's just this open line of communication that's going on Discord, and both with the development team, with the use of Teams. So it's weird. It's like it's hokey, and it sounds like I'm something out of a Hallmark card. But as COVID has pushed us physically apart, it's actually in a weird way brought us all closer together. And honestly, even
Cool.
with my kids, because like while I'm doing all these things, I'm closer to the fans because I'm talking to them more on Discord. We're closer as a team because we're communicating constantly. And I'm literally like, my kids are right next to me. Like I could do all this, while I'm with my family. So I'm not saying that we should like make games like this forever, but
No.
It's hard.
it's been hard. But honestly, all this aside, I just love that my family's in arm's reach away, and all this stuff. It's been kind of awesome,
Yeah.
in that regard.
I can see
Yeah,
that
I
for
think
sure.
I think he's right. It'll change. I hope it changes kind of the way that we do things moving forward. I think we can, we always try to maintain a good work-life balance, but I think this is, this has shown like even for me, like what the things that you miss when you're at work, constantly. So it'll be cool. And just kind of last things. It's just Hugo talks about the connection with the community. Like we do have fantastic fans and a fantastic community, and they call us out when they think we should be called out, and they praise us when they think we should be praised, and I would say most of the time they're right. So it's a double-edged sword, but we really do appreciate all the support. We appreciate the passion. I don't know of other communities that are as passionate as ours. So it's fantastic, and we'll just keep trying to make great games for them.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you
And
guys are
lastly,
carrying quite the torch.
we've
Yeah.
got a pretty sweet thing we're working on for battle mode. Hopefully it pans out with some improvements to performance and different things in the works. Competitive mode, obviously the DLC. So lots to look forward to for the fans, and they've been critical. They've been a critical part of that process too. So we look forward to continuing to roll out some of that stuff for everybody, because as Marty said, feels like we just have like the best fans in the world. It's awesome. Making games for them is it's nothing we would rather do.
Well, that is awesome to hear. Yeah. There's a lot more Doom still coming then. Then I guess when all that's finished, then we can look forward to the next Quake and not Oh man, you
I
got to
know
go
you're
back
a
to that
fan.
Quake 1 style, man. I love it. It's so good. I was just playing some Quake this week as well on a old PC. It's great stuff. But I think that's pretty much all the time we have for today. So I want to thank you guys for joining me here remotely. It was a pleasure. And
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
It's always good to see you. Yeah.
And
And-
everybody check out Spicy Demons Discord. That's our official Discord now for battle mode. So people who log in, you'll see it on the live tile. And for people who are looking to get some information, learn how to play the mode, you could just jump in there. There's lots of people coaching players on how to dominate in our weird, quirky little competitive mode. And also the official Doom Discord channel as well. So plenty of places to go if you're a huge fan of Doom and you're looking for like-minded individuals to play with and learn more about the Doom game.
excellent. I might have to check those out myself. But for all those watching from home or wherever else you may be, I do appreciate it. And until next time, just let's keep playing some Doom.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Featuring its new Warp wireless technology, Omen's PC peripherals allow for lag-free gaming. From the 360-degree audio of its Omen frequency headphones, the 180-hour battery life of the Vector mouse, and the 2.4 GHz connection of its Spacer keyboard, Omen has you covered for the ultimate wireless experience.